Have you ever had that feeling, that constant nagging worry that just sticks around? That's kind of the hallmark of generalized anxiety disorder. But what if the key to managing it wasn't just found in a doctor's office, but also right there on your dinner plate? Today, we're going to look at the whole picture of anxiety treatment, from your thoughts all the way down to your gut.
So, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off by understanding how anxiety really affects your whole body. Then, we'll walk through the standard treatments before diving into the really cool connection with our gut. From there, we'll get some practical tips right from a nutritionist notebook, talk about when special diets might come into play, and then we'll wrap it all up into one big holistic strategy.
All right, first things first, anxiety is so much more than just having racing thoughts. It's a full body event, you know? It's a physical reaction to something your brain thinks is a threat. It's basically your body's way of screaming for help, even when you can't quite find the words for it.
So just take a second and think about it. When you feel that wave of anxiety, what actually happens to you physically? Does your heart start pounding? Do you get that weird knot in your stomach? Just noticing these signals is a huge first step to understanding what's really going on inside.
Yeah, if any of that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. Heart palpitations, stomach issues, tense muscles, headaches, and just that bone-deep feeling of being tired all the time, these things aren't just in your head. They are real, physical signs that your body's stress response is stuck in overdrive. So, what's happening under the hood, scientifically? Well, when your brain senses danger, whether it's real or just perceived, it hits the fight or flight button, and that floods your system with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. The problem is, when this system is always on, that constant stream of cortisol can start to mess with your immune system and your digestion. Okay, so if that's the problem, how do we even start to deal with it? Let's take a look at the established, scientifically backed treatments that are the typical first line of defense. Treatment usually rests on two main pillars. You can think of it like this. Therapy helps you rewire your mental software, your thoughts and your habits, while medication can help rebalance the hardware, your actual brain chemistry. And honestly, they often work best when you use them together. One of the most effective therapies out there is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, and it's super practical. It's less about asking why you feel anxious and more about teaching you to spot the thought patterns that are fueling that anxiety. It gives you real, concrete tools to change those patterns. It's all about breaking that cycle. Now, on the medication side, the first choice is often a type of drug called an SSRI, which stands for Selective Serotonin Reuptake Inhibitor. Basically, they work by making more serotonin available in your brain. Serotonin is a key chemical that helps regulate your mood, so this just gives your brain a little more of that feel-good stuff to work with. But, of course, SSRIs aren't the only option. You've got SNRIs, which work on both serotonin and another chemical called norepinephrine. There's also buspirone, which is another anti-anxiety med with a lower risk of dependence. And then you have benzodiazepines. These work really fast, which can be a lifesaver in a crisis. But, and this is a big but, they carry a pretty high risk of dependence, so they're not usually a long-term solution. Okay, so now we're going to pivot from the brain in your head to a place you might not expect, your gut. Seriously, more and more scientists are calling it our second brain, and for a very good reason. It's like this hidden control center that has a huge impact on your mood. This quote right here completely flips the script on how we used to think about anxiety. We used to think, okay, stress happens in the brain and that gives you an upset stomach, and that's true. But what we now know is that it's a two-way street, and the traffic coming from the gut to the brain is way, way heavier. Your gut is constantly talking to your brain. This whole communication network is called the gut-brain axis. It's a real physical and chemical link between your gut and your brain. And the key players in this conversation, the trillions of tiny microorganisms living in your gut, which is your microbiota. The health of this little ecosystem inside you has a direct effect on your mood. Let's use an analogy to make this super clear. Think of your gut like a garden. When you eat well, you're helping all the good plants, the beneficial bacteria, to thrive. But a diet full of processed foods, that's like letting weeds, the harmful bacteria, take over the whole plot. This can actually damage the garden fence, which is your gut lining, and let toxins leak out into your bloodstream, travel up to your brain, and disrupt your mental health. So, if this inner garden is so important, how do we take care of it? This brings us to the nutritionist notebook. Let's look at some practical advice on how you can use food to support your own mental well-being.
This chart lays it out pretty clearly. On one side, you've got the weeds for our inner garden, things like refined sugar, too much caffeine, and processed foods that can ramp up anxiety. And on the other side, you've got the foods that can help reduce it. Things rich in omega-3s, magnesium, complex carbs, and probiotics from stuff like yogurt. It's like planting good seeds.
Let's zero in on carbs for a second, because this is a really big deal. They are not all created equal. Simple carbs, from sugar and white flour, they give you that super fast energy spike, which is always followed by a crash. And that roller coaster can make anxiety so much worse. But complex carbs, from things like whole grains and beans, they break down slowly, giving you a nice, steady stream of energy that keeps your blood sugar and your mood on a much more even keel.
And if we zoom in even closer, there are some nutrient superstars for your brain. Tryptophan, that's the amino acid your body uses to actually make serotonin. Omega-3s, they're literally the building blocks for your brain cells. B vitamins are vital for energy, and then you have minerals like zinc and magnesium, which are absolutely essential for calming your nervous system down. Now, you've probably heard about different diets like gluten-free or keto being connected to mental health. And it's really important we're clear here. There is no magic one-size-fits-all diet that cures anxiety. These are special tools for very specific situations.
The diets that are most often talked about when it comes to mental and neurological health are things like gluten-free and casein-free diets, the keto diet, and also the very well-researched Mediterranean diet.
And to be crystal clear, these are not general recommendations for everyone with anxiety. A gluten-free diet, for instance, is absolutely essential for someone with celiac disease, where the body's reaction can actually cause psychiatric symptoms. The keto diet is being explored for conditions where the brain has trouble using sugar for energy, like in Alzheimer's. These are specific interventions, and they have to be guided by a professional. So, all of this brings us to our final and maybe most important point. Managing anxiety isn't about finding one single cure. It's really about building a personalized toolbox that addresses your mind, your body, and your lifestyle, all at the same time. This is what a really powerful, integrated plan looks like. You're combining that professional support, like therapy and medication, with the foundational power of good nutrition. And then you can layer on other amazing strategies, regular exercise, mindfulness practices, and a strong social network. Every single piece makes the others stronger.
So as we wrap up, let me just leave you with this question. This isn't about doing a massive life overhaul overnight. It's just about taking one small, positive step. So based on everything we've talked about, what's one thing? Maybe a handful of walnuts, a little bit of yogurt, a side of leafy greens. What's one thing you can add to your plate today for your mental health?